And then in my junior year, I raised some money and I went to Bolivia for a month prior to my senior year. A good friend of mine and I, Pete Lacasse, who we now have a scholarship foundation named after for MCSA that gives money back to families in need so kids can play. Him and I were going to go. And so we got a lot of donations to go down there and to go play. And he happened to pass away Memorial Day weekend before we were going to go. A sudden death, yeah. He was my best buddy, and we traveled to and from Santa Rosa together. Yeah, it was hard. That was definitely a setback for me because I'd never seen that before, dealt with death, especially somebody that young, something so sudden, and an incredibly gifted young man. So I still went. And so I went and I played, and I went in honor really of Pete and just to give everything I had to go live it up and give my best. And so I went down there for a month and I played and trained with their coaches. And it was a team in Santa Cruz, Bolivia called Taiwichi. And they produced just tons of professional players throughout Bolivia. Marco Echeverri, who played for, the national team, but for Bolivia, but he played for DC United. They're one of the all-time Hall of Famer for DC United and played for Colo-Colo in Chile. And then Jaime Moreno, he was actually down there when I was playing, playing for a team called Blooming, which was the professional team for Taiwichi. They produced some great players. So at the end of that month, they approached me and asked if I would stay and train with their top team during my senior year. And I really thought about just staying. It's like, what an opportunity. And one of the biggest differences down there and what I've noticed was just the speed of play. You know, at that time I was getting sharper on the ball, I was more technical, but it was just how fast they could do it versus what I could do it, or the kids from the United States could do it. It was just 2-3 levels above us. Just they were faster at what they were able to do with the ball than what we were. And that happened, you adjust to that. You get better with it as you play at that level. But I remember telling them, I'll be back. I promise you I'll come back. But I'm going to go back for my senior year. I have to go back for my senior year. So I came back and I did my senior year here. And like I said, my senior year, I had a great season. The team was average, pretty much like it is just about almost every year is in UCI. I think we're trying to make that next step now, but we were average. And but I worked hard and I was honored, like I said, with a lot of accolades during my senior year, and that was pretty cool. And after I graduated, I went back. I flew down there. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know what I was going to do, and but I knew I was going to play ball, and I knew I was going to take a year off of college, and I went down there. And when I say I went down there, I'll tell you guys, it's a third world country. When I was there was no paved roads, no stoplights. There's 650,000 people surrounded by jungle. It's like nothing you've ever seen.
How'd you get around? Like, you don't speak the language?
I did not. Well, I had 3 years of Spanish in high school.
Okay.
That's that totally got me through it.
So you were to say hi and bye.
Hola, no, si. Those are the 3 words.
Jeez, I can't imagine being in your position and just being, I'm going to just get my stuff and go to Bolivia.
So
yeah.
Yeah. And again, my parents were super supportive. You know, they're just great people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
So cool.
And so I went, but I'll tell you, and this is what's so awesome about the game of football is it is a universal language. You don't have to speak the same, and it's such a simple game. You know, you just need a ball. And ball in one person, and you can get an incredible workout. You can get better on your own if you so choose to, right? And then if you have another person, now you can play one-on-one and play to a trash can or something. And, you know, it's such a great sport. And what you find with these countries that have nothing, they're so open. Like, it didn't matter, you know, that I'm some gringo from the United States and I go nowhere to live. You go in and they just open their door and say, come in. We don't have a lot, but we're going to share it with you. And that's the type of people they are. They're great people. The Bolivianos are phenomenal people. Absolutely love them.
Do you still keep in touch with any of them?
I do. I've talked to so I lived with a family when I went down there by chance. I ran into a family whose dad was one of the directors of that professional team Blooming. And she saw me at the airport. And she was dropping her brother off at the airport. And I heard my name called. sane. I'm like, what the heck? Who knows me? I didn't tell you that down there. And so I turn around and it's Susie was her name, Susie. And she goes, you know, in her broken English, what you doing here? And I'm like, I'm here to play some soccer. Where are you living? I don't know. I have no idea. So she literally just said, get in the car. I'm going to take you home to and tell my parents that you're here. And they just took me in, and that's where I lived. It was just awesome. Total by chance. But I'll tell you what was awesome. If you want to learn a language, you got to go and just totally embrace yourself in their culture.
I've heard that so many times, but I mean, it's ballsy, like you said, to just go up and leave and just take your stuff and go. But that's the best way to learn a language and get to know the culture, right?
Yeah, and you have to. So like, you know, you learn the La Linea system and where the buses go and the vans, you know, and they're supposed to hold 8 people, but they have 25. Or the bus that's supposed to hold 30 people and it has 100, you know, and you're holding on to the edge and outside the bus or the vans and you're just smiling. I was just like, dude, I'm living this. This is crazy. You know, it's like, I wish there was like a GoPro, like so I could show my family like, what I'm doing. I probably wouldn't want to show my mom hanging out of a van, but you know, she'd be pretty worried about that because it's not the safest, but that's just how you lived. It was incredible. And I remember every once in a while I'd take a taxi and I remember thinking, man, this is a long ride home. Like, why is this taking so long? And as I became more fluent in the language and understanding the streets, I realized they were just going in circles. So they could get more money. Yeah. So I remember, you know, I would say about a month, I stayed down there about 7 months and about a month and a half into it, you know, you start to get to know a couple of the drivers that are in that little vicinity that I'm in, part of Santa Cruz. And I remember I just started speaking Spanish to him and he kind of like froze. He's like, yeah, I know what you've been doing. Now you need to go this way, then you need to take a left, and the house is right here on the right, you know, and I was able to speak fluent by the time I came back. It was incredible. And I highly recommend opportunities like that for our youth. It puts a lot of things in perspective, not just from the fact that, you know, you come from the United States where you're really blessed on what you have and the opportunities that are here for people. And when you go down there, it's not the fact that you're just blessed upon what you see, what you have here and appreciate it more, but then you understand there's wonderful people in this world. And the world's so much bigger than you, way bigger than you, and so much more important than you. And how do you fit into that puzzle? How do you fit into the matrix of the world? And that was something that really opened my eyes up for me personally, that it's a small world with wonderful people in it. And if we can all just respect each other and love each other, the world would be a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. And why Bolivia? Like when you and your friend are planning that trip, like
great did you guys
have connections there?
Yeah, we did. So there was a guy named Connie Constantine. So he coached me and Peter when we were on our U16. Our first year was Santa Rosa United. And he was from the Bay Area. He's been all over now. He's one of the directors up for the Timbers up in Washington or Oregon, and then was a director with the Houstonians in Houston. He's actually the head coach right now, I believe, of the Jamaican futsal team, national team right now. He's really big into futsal. Wonderful man, lots of energy, and he liked me. And he just saw a work ethic and saw, I think, somebody that really loved to play and really gave a good effort. And so he talked to my dad and I about Santa Cruz, Bolivia, and that he'd been down there and he was organizing a group to go down there and train with the Taiwichi for that summer. And so I was like, sure, let's do it. And so we raised a bunch of money to make it happen. So that was my connection down there. It was Connie Constantine, who's a great guy.
That's awesome.